This is drain cleaner, or preferably sodium hydroxide. It's also known as lye and NaOH. This chemical has many applications, most importantly making soap, but it can also be used as for cleaning things or as a solvent for some particular things. So this right here is a brand of drain cleaner, and it's not pure sodium hydroxide. It's only about 55%. So today I'm going to pour some of this on my hand, and we're going to answer some of the questions that I get. If you haven't seen part 1 or part 2, check them out. But in this video, I'm going to debunk sort of the claims that a lot of people have said. The first one is because this isn't pure sodium hydroxide, the experiment isn't legit. Second one is because I didn't add enough to the cup when I put it on my hand. And third of all is I didn't keep it on long enough. So let's try this and I'll explain after. So whenever I make soap, the ratio of sodium hydroxide to water I use is about 0.4 to 1. So we'll measure this out. And because this is not pure sodium hydroxide, it's only about 50%, we're just going to add twice as much. 138 grams of sodium hydroxide, and to this I'm going to add 173 grams of water. And this should give me the correct ratio. So adding water to sodium hydroxide, or the other way around, is exothermic, meaning it produces heat. So this is now boiling. I don't know if you can see that. So I'm gonna wait until this cools down and then I'll show you guys. So if you're complaining that I'm letting this cool down while it's sitting there before I pour it on my hand, I'd just like to tell you, every time I make soap, I've put this in an ice bath to let it cool down because the reaction just works better. You can get the sodium hydroxide more thoroughly mixed before it starts turning into soap, so you end up with a more homogeneous product. Alright, that's definitely too hot, so I'm gonna wait until that cools down. The reason why I can't just put ice in it is because it'll dilute it further. So we're not going to do that. So it's been a couple minutes and you can see that this is about 25 to 26 degrees Celsius. This is still the same batch. I've just put it in an ice bath to cool it down. Alright, we're going to take this out and I'm going to pour it on my hand. I'm going to just move the camera while it's on so you can see that this is legit. Zoom out, which takes forever with this camera. Alright, here we have the batch, and we're gonna pour it on my hand. Ready? And I'm gonna start running my hand under cold water as soon as I feel the slightest bit of pain. Alright, see it's on. Not feeling anything. Not feeling anything. Still not hurting. Nope, it's still alright. Yep, that's not hurting. Alright, add some more. Alright, I'm started to feel a little bit of an itchy feeling, so we're gonna wash that off now. And one thing I noticed is my hands have become very slippery. This is because the sodium hydroxide combines with the triglycerides on my hands, making soap. This is what it's used for. If I kept this on too long, it would actually rip apart the cells in my hands, and it can cause severe burn. So now you can see that a sodium hydroxide aqueous solution will not melt directly through skin. Now you'll notice a couple things about this. The first thing is right surrounding me I had ways of washing the wound. If you're in a chemistry lab, you should have a hand and eye wash station and an emergency shower. But why did I not get tragically burnt? Virtually all the skin in your body is covered in the epidermis, which is just dead skin cells that cover your flesh. This means that the sodium hydroxide has to eat through that to get to your actual skin that is living, so it starts causing serious damage. So if you don't get the sodium hydroxide off within a couple minutes, it can cause an issue. But in that demonstration, I kept it on for above 30 seconds and it didn't really do anything. This dispels the myth that pouring sodium hydroxide right on your hand will eat right through it. It just doesn't work like that. Now, that said, no one should ever try this at home. Don't try it. Do not try it. I suggest everyone wear gloves and eye protection, maybe a lab coat when you're handling sodium hydroxide. The reason for this is because the eyes are not covered with the epidermis. They're just essentially bare skin. So even a little splash in your eyes can cause temporary or permanent blindness, which is something you definitely don't want. Also, a bigger issue is if you get a little dot somewhere on it and you don't really notice it, and then it might be like 5 minutes later and it starts really burning. But I think the bigger issue is more skin irritation, and that is why virtually every time I handle sodium hydroxide, even though it's not going to seriously burn me, I do wear gloves and a long sleeve shirt. It's just because it makes the skin really itchy. I can tell my forearm is starting to itch up. Also, I think a bigger hazard of sodium hydroxide is the damage it can cause to your lungs. The fumes that come off sodium hydroxide when you mix it in water can get airborne and go into your lungs, or you could breathe in the dust from the sodium hydroxide, and that can cause serious irritation or lung damage, which is something you want to be very careful of. So if you handle sodium hydroxide, make sure you're in a well-ventilated place, preferably a fume hood. Notice I'm just inside. Once again, don't try this at all. Thanks for watching, guys. See ya.